the Catholic idea of subsidiarity,
Mhm.
particularly as we're thinking about a local expression of faith.
Yes, sir.
And the common good. How do you see practically something like this as a forum, whether it's the Hebrew idea of the light to the nations, whether it's Jesus' idea of the city on a hill,
Mhm.
whether it's the Muslim idea of a community of justice and witness,
Wow.
the Sikh idea of being a community of reconciliation and of peace and common good.
Right.
How do you see faith leaders actually mobilizing resources to actually seek the common good together where they are and restore a sense of subsidiarity or local voice
Right.
to affecting change?
That's a really good question. Subsidiarity means taking the larger issue, like I think earlier you were just mentioning, and bringing it down to the most common level where it can be implemented. Does that make sense? In other words, do we always have to have the U.S. government come in and pay for everything? No, no. In many instances, the local communities, out of their love, out of their charity and goodness, can handle that. So the idea of subsidiarity is the most effective action at the most basic level. For all of us, the most basic level, of course, is the family. In your family structure, you learn from mother and father, grandmother, grandfather, the right thing to do, care for others, and things like that, and it's played out in hundreds of different ways. So to answer your question, the best way is, first of all, what we're doing here, is meeting together as leaders of faith and recognizing that we have a lot of common. And then you really leverage that commonality, and then you use it to implement programs at the local level that benefit everybody. Even people that are not part of faith, that idea that everyone is welcome. You don't stand there at a food bank, or you don't stand there in like a soup kitchen and say, "No, you can't come in because you're not a member of the faith community or something." It's for everybody. And that's why it works. But subsidiarity is very, very important. In fact, there's an absurdity in programs that should not even be considered that because they're designed specifically to be for the faith. Remember years ago, I think it was President Carter, back in the 70s, proposed that Meals on Wheels would be a national program under health, education, and welfare. And the idea, it was a good idea, you had the idea of obviously charity, but everybody immediately saw the implication. It would just become this massive, federal government program, when in fact, it's most effective at the local level. It's that poor little widow who lives at the end of the street, who not only looks forward to the meal every day that she gets, but the companionship, the friendship, the person who stops to say hi to her and spends a few minutes with her, not because, I'm being paid by the government the minimum wage to bring this to you, but because I care about you.
If I could,
Sure.
2 seconds. I
2
promise.
seconds.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think is really important about that idea of the Father is not only also of how the religious communities come together, but I'm a 2-time seminary dropout. Turned private equity investor, and if you want it, that's a longer story.
Okay.
But one of the things that I believe is how business folks and how policymakers actually are in conjunction and a part of the faith community coming together so that we can actually mobilize and be practical. Because back to the idea of a city on a hill or a light to light the nations, the greatest apologetic is the incarnate reality of God.
Right.
Period, right? So in my mind, as a businessman, I like the idea of how do we turn this into practical actions of where we could actually do these things together without being overly prescriptive, but still being somewhat organized.
Well, I like your word incarnation, and that's exactly right. Yeah, let's put some flesh and bones into this. You can have numbers, you can have statistics, you can have all these things, but it comes down to it ultimately. It's man to man, woman to woman, person to person. Welcome. I'm here for you. What can I do for you?
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
I wanted to ask the sheriff if he thinks speeding is a small sin or a big sin.
It's definitely a small sin when something else happens.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. Our last clergy is Rabbi Neil Tao. We welcome him and look forward to his presentation.
Good morning. How you doing? Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Would you mind, Micah? Yep. Turn on the bottom. Yeah, thank you very much. All right. Excellent. How's everybody doing? Good? Okay, we're going to do some calisthenics. Everyone reach. Okay. All right. Okay. So thank you very much for the invitation to be here with you all today. Apologize, I'm running a little late. We just finished our service at the synagogue. My wife is a weaver, so I watch her make all kinds of crafts. And so the idea of a quilt or a tapestry was one that really spoke to me. Because it is a tapestry or a quilt is a shared space. It is a common destiny, and it is something where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Before, though, I have a few thoughts I'd love to share with you, and certainly to hear your feedback. Before I share those thoughts, I'd like us all, we don't have to bow our heads or anything, or even do it right now, but at some point today, if you would say a prayer, because today happens to be the International Holocaust Day of Remembrance, every January 27, which remembers the liberation of the Auschwitz-Birkenau camps in Poland. And my prayer, given that fact of the calendar, is that the quilt that we weave together, whatever colors and whatever style it turns out to be, that will strengthen us so that we can educate toward tolerance and advocate for those who've been wronged and support victims of hate. This type of education is very much in the DNA of our synagogue. I represent Congregation Sha'arei Shalom over by Heritage High School. If you haven't been by to visit us, please do come by. Send me a message, give me a call. Would love to share with you our home on Evergreen Mills Road. I would say that the largest share of our work is inspired by two complementary commitments or commandments in our Holy Scripture, what we call Torah. The mitzvah or commandment in the book of Leviticus, Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, love your neighbor as ourselves, and the commandment in the book of Deuteronomy to love God and study God's teachings, and then, as we were saying just a few moments ago, act on them. One way that we in our community pursue these two directives is by training our youth toward a grounded sense of identity as they learn skills to fully participate in all aspects of their Jewish lives. It also translates to giving them a grounded sense of identity as they participate in the activities of their lives in the schools and sports and all kinds of activities that they participate in. And that includes prayer, celebrating holy days, tzedakah, which is our charitable giving and social action. And we have a strong group of students that choose that after their bar bat mitzvah life cycle event at age 12 or 13 to become active in our religious school as teen leaders who set an example for younger students, being classroom assistants and helping to facilitate our educational program. And also, sort of following up on the thread of that last conversation, we seek to cultivate relationships in the larger community with the leaders of our region, law enforcement, local hospital, healthcare, first responders, and with all of our interfaith partners, so that we know that they know that we are an active and dependable presence here in Loudoun as this county grows, both in population and in prominence. So I look forward to further conversation and dialogue for today. And just one final thought. This past Thursday, in our tradition, we celebrated the New Year of Trees, called the Tu B'Shvat. And that is a celebration of nature and the hope of renewal that comes as we see seasons changing and as we as people grow on our spiritual journeys. I hope that we can all grow together and strengthen one another. Thank you, everyone.
Any questions for the rabbi?
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're perfect on time. What we'll do now, by the way, I want to thank all the clergy. I think some of them have left, but express deep gratitude for their attendance. They're very busy. They do indispensable work, and they've taken time to come talk to us. We're going to take a 10-minute break. Downstairs again, there's bathrooms. We'll just reassemble at 12:30, and we'll do our last section, which is the panel, and I'll introduce that at 12:30, and the moderator. And again, there is lunch at 1:15, and you can take it downstairs and eat it in the dining area, or you can take it to go, and we have drinks as well, so food and drinks. So 10-minute break.